Hello friends, how are you today? This is Phil, and I just wanted to sound off about something. About these armchair lawyers that are basically going around and they're sabotaging police. The police might be walking, they might be setting themselves up with guns to be seen in the open, and then they interrogate the police officer, or they bring up these rights. Oh, I got these rights. And you don't know the law, and you don't know da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Now, there's something to be said about the spirit of the law, okay, and the spirit of someone being correct and someone being outright wrong, okay? When you are arrested for something criminal, you have every right to bring up the best defense you can possibly muster and bring up all these individual little facts. And hopefully they end up to free you if it was such an egregious arrest that, a jury of your peers would say, okay, this guy should be let go. Police officers acted, basically cruel and unusual to get the arrest. They entrapped someone, okay? So about 3 or 4 days ago, I see this, what appeared to be a white voice. I didn't see the lawyer. He said he was a lawyer, and he had a quick voice. So I don't speak the best to people, but I'll listen to them. And then when they actually try to hit me with something, I'll hit them back even harder. Okay. I don't like confrontation. I like, experiencing the exchange of ideas. I really do. And sometimes someone rubs me the wrong way, I go off. I understand that. But I try not to piss off people just to piss them off like this guy was doing. He flagged down a police officer who was in a green uniform, I guess some kind of sheriff. And the person, the deputy, sheriff deputy, evidently stopped someone earlier. And this guy was flagging down the police officer or the deputy, whoever he was, and asking him questions through the window and put him on the spot and just kept on asking him. Do you know that state law states you can't have a personally owned vehicle to pull over people? And I'm thinking to myself, well, that might be state law, but as soon as he steps out his door onto his porch, okay, and this is true in about every state, every jurisdiction where you're a police officer, as soon as you step out the confines of your house, you are considered on duty. Yeah. So I'm thinking, what does this armchair lawyer really know? He speaks quick, puts the police officer on guard or off guard, sorry. And the police officer is not responding properly back to this asshole. And I'm reminded of DC with a lot of my police officer studies before becoming a police officer, the academy, and so on and so on. Ever since then, I follow a lot of law. I follow a lot of what's going on in politics and what applies as a police officer, okay? And that's including my security guard field too, which was 3 years before I became a police officer. And so I'm sitting there thinking, well, in DC, if we had a car, our own POV, our lieutenant wanted to shake down an area that was a high drug, narcotic area, and then there was a lot of shootings, and we had to get at one individual, he would ask us to use a POV and do an undercover buy. And so we would use our privately owned vehicles, and we'd do a big operation where one of us would go in and purchase some drugs. And there was nothing illegal about that. Maybe there was general orders or administration regulations inside our police department. Okay, but as soon as I stepped foot across that line in DC, I was considered on duty, even when I wasn't getting paid for it. By law, which is on the books, I have all the arrests of a regular police officer on duty, as compared to just a security guard that went home and has to leave his gun and everything in the house, and then he steps outside, he's still a normal citizen. Okay, as soon as a DC officer from Virginia or Maryland steps across that line in DC, automatically he's considered on duty and is mandated to make the arrests if a crime occurs in front of him. So I'm looking at all these setups and putting average Joe American white bread police officers on the spot. And I'm asking why? Are you helping society or are you helping your ego? This lawyer might know a lot about state law, but does he actually know the spirit of the law and how administrative rules actually would supersede his words in a court of law when a judge knows that police officer is entitled to power that we give him to protect the least of us? No. That armchair lawyer piece of shit was just sitting there putting an average Joe white bread police officer on the spot. Okay? Not thinking that law also states as soon as that police officer or deputy steps out of his house, he is considered on duty and he has to effect the arrest of any law violator who commits a crime in front of him. Okay, lawyer, do you want to get back at me? Do you want to debate this? Do you want to debate this in a court of law, especially when you're sitting there harassing a police officer that's there to protect the most of us? You don't know exactly what he did. You're sitting there videotaping him pull over someone who was reckless 5 miles back, driving his vehicle at a high rate of speed. And you're going to sit there and interrogate a deputy while he's doing his actual job. And why? To make us feel safer? You're not making me feel safer, pal. I don't care if you're a fucking lawyer or a judge or who the fuck you think you are. You're basically doing it for your own ego. You basically don't know all the other little laws that officer or deputy should have told you and shoved it down your face. If you would have asked me a third question in the negative tone that you did, I would have stepped out of my car, I would have put you in cuffs, and I would have slammed your ass against a vehicle while I'm effecting the legal arrest of your ass for disorderly conduct or obstruction of justice. You might be a lawyer, but you are not a police officer, and you are not applying the spirit of any law to anybody to help anybody in society. You were doing it for your own ego. And like you put that police officer on the spot, if it occurred to me, I would have used the same fucking law you think you know about to effect your arrest, and your whole life would have been ruined. You would have turned around and sued me. I would have turned around and sued you for wrongful prosecution. But I would have waited for your conviction. I would have sat there and stewed and loved it. You attacking the police officers need to know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. You're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for us. So I think about things like that. I'm sort of ashamed some police officer. I was a young white police officer in Anacostia, D.C., 99.999% black. They had maybe one family that was white in an area basically of, I'd say about 800,000 people. Figure out the math there. But I loved it. And no citizens ever put me on the spot like that. Like I was corrupt. There was gangbangers and they hated all police equally. So I enjoyed that. Some people were slicksters and I learned how to deal with them very quickly and protected myself and my fellow brothers. Okay. But I've never had one person come up there and try to set me up on camera and interfere with my job as if I was doing something wrong. Again, if the lieutenant asked me to use my POV to do some undercover buys, do you think the judge is going to say, oh, got to throw this out because of administrative law? No, armchair lawyer, you're full of shit. You're full of shit. You're trying to make a name for yourself. Why aren't you in trial? Why aren't you representing a lot of people if you're an actual lawyer? Yeah, we think about things like that. You're not exposing shit. And maybe you got a long following on YouTube, but ain't nobody called you out on it yet. I see all these people doing open carry, and they want to set up police officers. Oh, I know my Second Amendment. I know the law of Oregon. I know the law of blah, blah, blah. I understand that, guys. I understand that. I believe in open carry. I believe you don't need an actual permit to carry a weapon, okay? Because the Second Amendment already guarantees that right. But what's your spirit? Okay? Are you setting up an actual corrupt cop that covered up some homicides? Did you actually file a report for a police officer that actually stole money? That actually shook someone down for money? Getting kickbacks? Put drugs on someone? Armchair lawyer, tell me that. Armchair lawyer, tell me, are you doing an investigation like that? When was the last time you put your name on the line and filed a report about an actual criminal offense against a police officer? Tough guy. Be careful, guys. I'm 100% behind you for the Second Amendment and telling these police officers we have a right to carry. But it's how you do it. It's how you do it, and you let them know that you're also there with them when they start to understand the way you're thinking. The idea is not to make them an enemy. The idea is to make them your friend. So they understand where you're coming from. They agree with where you're coming from. You ever think about that, armchair lawyers? I am so pro-gun. My God, you're going to tell me something about guns I don't know? When people, police officers do want to go home. They don't want to get shot either. So they act a little squirrely sometimes themselves. I understand that. I support you 100%. But are you just going to go out there and keep on attacking police officers on camera like you know something? You don't. You honestly don't. Maybe you dealt with a lot of corrupt police officers that treated you wrong or something. I don't know. Did they actually put drugs on you or something so egregious that you feel like you're God all of a sudden? Come on now. Come on. Those police officers are there to help the 99.9999% of us that can't help ourselves. I can help myself. You can help yourself. What about all those other people? What about the disabled? What about the poor? What about Miss Newsbaum down the street? She's out there, getting groceries and walking home 2 blocks to her house and she gets mugged. You're interfering with that police officer when he could be doing so much more. And in a court of law, a judge would say, yes, he's in uniform. He's entrusted to enforce the law, whether he's off duty or not. That's what you didn't say, armchair lawyer. That's what you didn't say. You just put a guy on the spot and made him look bad. If that would have happened to me, you would have been locked up for disorderly conduct, interference with a police officer during the actual duties he's performing, whatever the term is, obstruction of justice. You would have been locked up, and you know what? You would have been probably sued. You can be sued too, for harassing police officers. They have individual rights too. Do you know that? Do you know that? Armchair lawyer, do you know that? You're actually seizing a police officer and stopping him, asking him all these questions, and interfering with him in his active patrol that we entrust him. Okay? The impression I got from this armchair lawyer, all my friends, is basically that he was a hardcore nihilist or a hardcore anarchist. He might have been a lawyer, but he was acting like a lawyer, and I doubt it. I don't know. I can profile people by the sound of their voice too. But I would suspect that he's a nihilist and he probably has an education level as a lawyer. And if that's the case, fine. Then he should know all the law and apply the spirits of the law equally so that these confrontations don't happen. Guys, be safe out there. Protect your family first. Protect your church. Protect your community. Protect your state. Protect your nation. I love you guys. It's a day off. I got a splitting migraine, and it's just, what's the saying? A bug in my crawl? Oh, my God. All these armchair lawyers. Lawyers, you're only as good as the last case you won. Not how many people you set up on camera.